Okay, should we get started? Hello and welcome to today's MSc Cancer Program Virtual Open Day. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Robbie Lush and I'm a current student of the Cancer MSc degree at UCL. I'll be your chair this morning. We hope this session will address those course-specific questions you may have and will help you to gain an insight into what it was really like to study on one of our master's programs. I'm delighted today to welcome today's speakers, Dr. Mehdi Hassan, lecturer at the Institute of Cancer and expert in cancer genomics. You'll be able to ask questions to Dr. Hassan and myself during the Q&A part of this meeting using the Q&A function. This section is being recorded and will be made available on our website following today's event. So without further ado, over to you, Dr. Mehdi.
Thank you, Ravi. Just confirm that you can see my screen just once more.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And today we'll be talking about the MSc Cancer program at the UCL Cancer Institute. So I am, again, Dr. A. Mehdi Hassan, and I am one of the co-program lead along with alongside Professor John Hartley. So let's look at the organization of Cancer Institute and in terms of the UCL overall organization and how our Cancer Institute falls in. So to begin with, we are part of UCL Faculty of Medical Sciences, and the Faculty of Medical Sciences has 6 divisions. So you can see here there are UCL Medical School, Division of Medicine, then the Division of Surgery and Interventional Sciences. There is SMAN Dental Institute, also the Institute of Infection and Immunity. And I'm just telling you the last name, but it is not an institute in itself. It is considered as a division because we have got a very strong research output in the field of cancer research. And this Cancer Institute is situated at the Paul O'Gorman building that is on the Huntley Street. So if you have made your journey to the UCL Bloomsbury campus, you can find us just in front of the Macmillan Cancer Center. So we are very much tied with the Macmillan Cancer Center. We still receive a lot of samples from them. We do our research on that, and our research go back as like a practice for the help to the patients. So anyway, we'll come to that point later. So in this Cancer Institute, we have somewhat between 400 and 500 scientists from different departments. We will look into that in the next slide. And we have approximately 50 group leaders, and we are a very good mixture of research scientists and clinical academics. You will find them when you join us, okay? So inside the UCL Cancer Institute, we have 6 departments. To begin with, this is Cancer Biology, Department of Clinical Trials, Hematology, Oncology, and Pathology. And we have our own Department of Cancer Education that was formed recently. And all the degree programs are run under this department. So you will be taken care of by the Department of Cancer Education. So now let's have a look at the bench to bedside translational pipeline at UCL. So if a scientist come with a very good idea, we put them under the proof of concept validation pipeline. And that state, you will be like the scientist will be able to prove their concepts using various disease models, say cell lines or organoids, and even with the help of in silico AI models. And from that, we develop preclinical developmental tools. And from that, we have already seen coming out of commercialization, spin out companies like ADC Therapeutics. We have Autolus, that is a leader in T-cell programming technologies. Then we have Achilles, that actually develops new immunotherapies, etc., etc. So when preclinical development is done successfully, we pass it on to the next phase, which is the early phase trial and the whole pipeline. And with the help of ACMC, which is Experimental Cancer Medicine Center, which is actually a unique network in the UK that actually is joint funded by CRUK and the Health Department of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So from that, scientists can discover like a groundbreaking discovery, or also it can move on to the late phase clinical trials, and ultimately it ends up in the clinical practice. Like you can see now how this scientific endeavor can end up in the clinical practice. And that is done in the UCL. So, and that is done in a multidisciplinary way. So we have a very good connection with other facilities, other departments within the UCL. Like there are people working alongside with us, or inside the UCL Cancer Institute as well, working with artificial intelligence and nanotechnologies. We have very good communication with engineering departments, and we have our dedicated bioinformatics teams and groups, and working under different those 50 PIs. We have also good connections with Department of Pharmacy and Pharmacology and Advanced Imaging, etc. And our one of the greatest ally is the Francis Crick Institute that is situated just in front of the St. Pancras station. If you come out of it, you can see this is a very big institute, and that is a beacon of modern scientific endeavors. And even our PIs, some of the group leaders have half of their working force working in that very institute. So having said that, where do you fit in? You fit in the all of those parts of this pipeline, and we will prepare you for that. And that is, we will generate the next generation by the training from this MSc Cancer module. So now I will move on to the structure of the structural part of the or organizational part of the program, how this program is actually organized in a very orderly fashion. So to begin with, this is a full-time taught master's, and that is actually that actually covers from like a whole calendar year, starting from September to the next August, September. So it is actually divided into 3 terms, as you can see here. In the first term, we try to bring everyone in the same level of knowledge, because we have got students from different backgrounds, like life sciences, biomedical sciences, medical schools, even from nursing. Some comes with a degree with the nutrition, and obviously some come with pharmacy. We also have students from medical schools. They finish their first 3 years in the training, then join us, and then go back to their training again. So in the first term, like I said, this is a core. There are 2 core modules here. One is the basic biology and cancer genetics. Another one is cancer therapeutics. In the first one, you will also have practical courses that will train you with the practical labs that actually will train you for your very last term for your cancer research dissertation project. So I will come to that later. Okay, so in the second term, you will have chances to choose from specialization modules. So you will have choice from either cancer immunology or immunotherapy, which is actually a very flagship module in our whole program. And I have talked with some students, they joined our program just to learn this module. Or alternatively, you will have the cutting edge technology based module, which is multiomics and cancer evolution. So you will learn programming, how to deal with those genomics data, and I myself run that module. You will also have chances to choose from either cancer clinical trials or behavioral science and cancer. And in the second term, you will also have another module which actually deals with preparing you for your next term, or also the next jump in your career. So in this cancer research skill, you will learn how to analyze data, how to present your data with the oral presentation and poster presentation, etc. You will learn how to write scientific papers, how to write grant applications, or even we have got sessions for you to learn about how to form spin out companies. And having said that, when you get all the knowledge you need, you then move on to the last term. So this term actually gives you the opportunity to go for a research project that could be wet lab based in the laboratory, or it can be a dry lab like bioinformatics or applying the AI techniques. So we will give you a list of research projects and you can choose from them. From our past experience, almost, okay, I would say more than 75% of the students will have their research project, which is in their first 5 choices. And after that, you will submit a report or dissertation and you will be assessed. So having said that, you can see here there are different arrows put in the different parts of the timeline of the each of this module. And these are the time when you will be assessed by us. That assessment will composed of, like, say, MCQ, it will be coursework assessments, it will be report writing, or even you will have oral presentation exam in here. And you can see those are not very clustered together at the same time, because we know how stressful that can happen for you if they are very clustered together. So we try to make it well dispersed, also try to make sure that you have enough time to prepare for those. Okay. So now I'm gonna touch on the types of teaching activities that we provide. For example, this is a taught master's course, so you will have almost all the sessions face-to-face lecture, and you will be provided with the lecture notes asynchronously most of the time, so that you can prepare yourself for the lecture and communicate or engage better with the lecturer. Most of the time we will provide you with the lecture recordings as well, so that you can go through them in your free time afterwards, but we expect you to be present in that lecture. We provide face-to-face lab practicals, wet lab practicals, that is done in the first term, and that will help you to navigate your way to the practical part of your project in the third term. We have also face-to-face small group tutorials, and students like it very much. We recently ran a midterm feedback session, and they actually praised this part, because in this way they can actually discuss about among themselves and discuss with me about the past week's lectures, and they go through some question answering sessions, and they find it very helpful for preparing themselves for their assessments. You'll be able to attend research talks. So in our institute, we have regular Tuesday talks that is very helpful for you to understand what's going on in the institute. And we have also renowned scientists who come regularly and present their works. So usually what you learn from the published literature, that is actually a year the research actually happens a year or more than a year before or prior to the publication. So whenever neuroscientists come and present their talks, that means you can have the very current advancement in the field, so that you can have right in there. Okay, and you will have a workshop at the end of the first term that is evidence-based medicine workshop, and that is run by the clinical trial center of our UCL Cancer Institute. And also you will have online quizzes and further readings. We will help you and support you to attain your excellence through that. Okay. So what are the groundbreaking research that happens in the CI? If you look, if you go through the CI website, you can find the recent groundbreaking research. For example, if you see there, you can find that we have got a nice, very, very concurrent research, which is called the TracerX, the lung TracerX, that is run by especially the Swanton Lab and our own Mariam Jamal Hanjani. And this is a very well research-based study that is actually looking at different cancer. Here you can see the lung cancer, but it is run for different cancer types, and it takes the sample from the patients before the treatment, before the surgery, after the surgery, and it actually follow their the patients for like at least 5 years. If there is a relapse of cancer, we have got the data, and we analyze all the data to find out how the cancer evolves during the disease time and how they are treated. And even if they relapse, why they relapse, we try to find it out. And after the TracerX, there is now another wing of the research that is called PEACE, postmortem study. And that study is actually give you the whole picture, how the cancer evolved over time and how the patient died. And we try to find out the reason and develop the treatment for that. And this center, this CI, is also a part of the City of London Centre for Cancer Research UK, alongside King's, Francis Crick, Queen Mary Barts. We are one of the 4 centers for this City of London Centre of CR UK. So this is a great place to be a part of. And these are some view of research dissertation that our students from the MSc Cancer program perform, submitted after their projects, and they can see the variety of their subjects and how they are using the cutting edge topics to do their projects. Even we have partnered with Anthony Nolan Charity to work with the umbilical cord derived mesenchymal stromal cells study and the influence on the cell's function. So those are the things our students usually do for their research project. So the one pressing thing that we are always asked about is the career prospects after this course or after this program, what the students are going to do. This is obviously a very valid question, it's a very timely question, and we actually prepare you for going to the next step. We prepare you for having the ability to go for experimental planning and designing. You can have the exposure to work in the wet lab or the dry lab. You are skilled by us. We actually prepare you for how to present your data and how to critically evaluate the scientific literature, etc. So that actually help you to go for your next round of career moves. So our our students go to sometimes medicine, they start PhD, lots of them. I will show you the exact stat, what is the scenario. They can go for in different clinical trial centers as a clinical trial assistant. Sometimes they go for teaching. They start after this PhD, they start with the postdoc. They go to different biomedical science marketing endeavor, etc., in the big pharmas, and then they go for as a research technician. So sometimes some students go for research technician job and then move on to the PhD. Sometimes they work as a scientific officer in the different healthcare sectors with their exposure to or their skills in the technical sides, even with the AIs. So here is the study that we performed recently, and you can see that in the interval of, like, let's say 5 years in the very recent history, we have more than 50% of our students started PhD. They also started as research technicians. They went to medicine, in the publishing, or even started their business. So, and you can see how they are distributed in the world as a PhD students. So you can see here there are like lots of them ended up with us as a PhD student, then in the UK, in the different other well-known universities, and even in the overseas. Okay. So we have got a very good community of alumni, and we have a very helpful environment. You can have us, you can have any other scientist in the whole CI that you can go to, you can talk to, you can talk to your peers, you can talk to your alumni. So that is a very, very comfort zone that you will have if you join us here. Okay, and this is one of the testimony from a student, the past student, and I will like pause for a minute for you to just read it. And then like I will move on to the next slide, which is a Q&A session. So I'm almost at the end of my talk here. Hopefully I have answered some of your questions, and if you have like more questions, obviously I'm here to answer you, and even if I cannot answer them all at this in this session, then you will have my email ID in the next slide. Then you can write to me with your questions. If it is in my capability to answer them, then I will answer them. If it is not, if you like ask something that's above my pay grade, then I will pass it on to the appropriate person, and they can answer your questions. Okay, so let's move on to the Q&A session. And yes, I am here to answer your questions.
Thank you for that. We'll now start with our Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section or unmute your mic. We're very happy to answer anything, so please just ask. And just to tell you a bit about my experience of the course while we wait for questions. I came from an undergraduate degree in biomedical sciences at the University of Reading. And during that time, I completed my placement year at the UCL Cancer Trials Centre, which is an office that oversees the conduct of experimental cancer therapies involving human subjects. And this is one of the branches of the UCL Faculty of Medical Sciences that Dr. Hassan alluded to earlier. And I loved this experience and wanted to follow something similar, so I decided to apply for this MSc program. There are three main things that I loved about this course and studying at UCL. One, the level of knowledge that is available to you during this course, both through lecture content and access to experts in this field. We had a number of lectures by practicing oncological consultants, and they were so knowledgeable. Sort of the ties that UCL has both in clinical academia and just research is really second to none. And you have access to just so many experts in the field, and you do really feel like you're at the forefront of research. Two, the assessments are well thought out and spaced out so that you don't feel stressed by trying to complete 2 assessments at once. The only time I did feel this was right at the end of the taught modules. But other than that, it's so much better than what my undergrad provided in terms of that. And finally, aside from the course itself, studying at UCL can give you such a good quality of life, both in terms of social activities and the quality of people you meet and eventually become friends with. I joined a society that's really defined my experience for the past year at UCL. So I would really recommend it to everyone else.
Okay, so yeah, we have got our first question.
So someone says, can you give examples of clinical research projects undertaken as part of the MSc?
Okay, the research project with us is actually for 3.5 months, and you will have all the help needed for that. For example, you will start with a group who is expert in that kind of research. So, for example, if I just mention one of these, so CAR T cell is a forefront of immunotherapy in the cancer treatment. So here, the student went to the very group who are actually expert in that and worked with that, and then covered a part of it so that he or she can understand what's the like current experiments going on. So he or she, I don't know actually really what the student was, but that student actually took part in that current or ongoing research part of the whole endeavor and did a significant contribution to that part. So those are the things actually you are like exposed to when you join the group, and you can like have an hands-on experience with the whole pipeline. So those are the things, for example, you can see here the investigation of protein partners of MYC that are essential for oncogenic rules. So those are the research projects that is actually done in the length of 3.5 months. Okay.
Just to add to that, in the cohort last year, the most exciting projects were all to do with CAR T cell therapies, and that was involving Dr. Claire Roddy, who's one of the clinical academics, researchers, and consultants associated with UCL. And I've heard that was a very interesting project, among others. Next question, what kind of support does the course provide for applying for PhDs?
Okay, we can provide support at various levels. To begin with, the knowledge. The knowledge you need to apply for PhD, to showcase your expertise that you get within this 1 year that is there. Then you will be helped by us and as like help from other facilities in the UCL. For example, there are career support that would actually helps you with the application write-up, preparing CV, even they can help you with preparing yourself for your upcoming interviews. So those are the helps you can have even if you leave our program, and up to I think 3 years you can access those facilities anywhere in the world. Then here comes the recommendations that we provide generously for you, and you will have your personal tutor for your pastoral needs and academic needs as well. So alongside us, your personal tutor will give you the support that you need for applying for PhD, example, again, references, etc. So all the things you need, even when there is advertisement that can be applicable for the cohort, we pass it on to the cohort and encourage them to apply. So those are the things you will have. And for your research project that you will perform, that will give you the expertise either in the wet lab or in the dry lab. You can show those activities in your put those activities in your application, and that will be very helpful for you to secure a PhD.
Thank you. Another attendee says, aside from the Francis Crick Institute, are there any other connections to laboratories and research institutes, both in the UK and overseas, that students can take advantage of throughout the course and upon graduation?
Okay, we do have connections as a collaborators to different institutes in UK and overseas. And every single PIs in our institute has those networks. Without those in this current time, it is kind of impossible to shine. So they closely maintain those collaborations. But for you, how you can be benefited for that? So of course, throughout the course and upon graduation, there will be some opportunities. Like, for example, if you choose a project that is part of a research team and that research team has a good collaboration with other um, institutes, if you perform very well, if there's an opportunity that you can end up in that research group, continue with them, there will be opportunities for you to communicate and build network and take advantage throughout your next journey. So that's the one thing. And obviously, if you perform well, if you are in a good book of the PI, then you can ask for reference or ask for guidance to end up with their collaborators who is in the other institute that is um, performing cutting edge technologies where you want to work with. So you can approach that way. So yeah, there are opportunities to that.
Thank you. Do you both have any tips for writing the personal statement for the MSc application?
Okay, that actually I would say be covered with the admin and the admission team for the Faculty of Medical Sciences. So if I say personal tips, okay, just show how you fit in for this program and what's your background is, how those are very tightly connected to this program. Like if you are very in a background which is very good fit for our program, just show that what you achieved in terms of your education and other activities during the application. That will be beneficial, but the most important thing is your educational achievement. If you fulfill your the requirement of our program, that I would say the best thing for your application. So you make your application, and I think if you are eligible for that, you will be offered a place in our program.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Just any relevant experience you have, and any specific personal interest you have in specific type of cancer or specific therapies, anything like that. Thank you. Are there any specific qualities you look for in prospective students applying to this program?
I think
Related
the
question.
previous one will be like the answer to this question as well.
Yeah, agreed. Do we get a personal tutor during our studies?
Of course, that is a mandatory in our whole university, to be honest with you. So you will be provided a personal tutor as soon as you join our program, and this personal tutor will be your mentor at least for your whole program. And even if you have a good communication with the personal tutor, who knows, that can be a mentor for the rest of your life.
Thank you for the question. And how much free time will you get to pursue other research projects and complete medical audits, for example? I.e., how stressful and time consuming is this compared to, for example, an intercalated BSc at UCL in cancer?
Okay, there will be time when you will be facing some like heavy load because it's an intense program, I would say. But there are times you can have your free time, sorry, and prepare for your next move. For example, in some days you will have like 9 to 5 classes, and some days you will have only two online sessions, say half an hour long, to attend, and then you can work on your own progression of the studies and other things. So it varies. Sometimes it will be very occupied, and sometimes you will be a little bit free to prepare for the things you want to do.
Yeah, and just from a student perspective, the first term, the winter term, is definitely the busiest, especially around assessment deadlines. The assessment deadlines in the taught module section of the course is the busiest you'll ever be. But when you haven't got any assessments, there is definitely some time to, I don't know how intense you're looking at doing, but for example, I, during the taught modules, actually worked at the Cancer Trial Center, and that was for about 25 hours a week. And I don't recommend it. It was quite stressful, but it's doable. You just have to have a very flexible schedule because the actual lectures can be quite randomly spaced out. Thank you for that. Hello, can a physics undergrad major apply to this program?
Okay, that is a tricky question, I would say. I think you should make contact to the Faculty of Medical Science admission team for that. And I can bring up the question to our own academic team to discuss. So if you could write to me the same question to my email, then I will write back to you, of course. Yeah.
And the looks like the final question for now. Will we get to go any conferences or events during the MSc?
Okay, it is an intensive course on itself, so we don't usually schedule that. But having said that, you will have your poster presentation to us, so sometimes we can think of make it an event. So in that way, it can be a conference-ish um, uh, scenario. But if you have anything in your mind and if you want our help to join any conference within the flexibility of your academic uh, activities, then we can definitely encourage you for that.
And they also have at the CI, they also have guest speakers each week that come in from other universities that you can often sit on if you're interested. Um, and as part of the actual course, I can't remember which module it is, but you'll find out, I'm sure. You get to go to one of the CAR-T manufacturing facilities at the Royal Free. I don't know if this will be offered next year,
Yeah,
but
that
we had to
is
do it. So
yeah that is actually part of the I think Queens 0017. Yeah, and on top of that, the uh, multiomics and cancer evolution module. If you
Is it a day class? It's another commerces.
sorry,
you might want to mute your mic,
Sandra.
Sandra.
Okay, yeah, let me uh, start again. So if you choose the multiomics and cancer evolution module, we actually um, arrange two tours in our TTP facilities. So one, you can have a clear idea how the genomics and multiomics and special biology activities or research going on in this facility. And also you will have chance to visit our proteomics TTP as well. So you will see how the proteomics research going on at that facility. So those are the things we have our own facilities to actually make possible for you to visit. So those are the, like I would say, very unique facilities that we have got, and you should take advantage of it, of course. So I can see there is another question about is the GR, sorry, is the required, again, is the GRE required to apply to this program, and are there funding opportunities for international students? So that I would say be covered by the FMS admission team, so they will be the best person to answer. Okay, for some reason we are having some technical difficulties. Okay, I'll go on. So one say to ask you, is there a strong quantitative component as a part of MSc, like statistical analysis? How much detail do you go into? So the quantitative component comes under different flavor. So first of all, the students who participate in the specialized module, the multiomics and cancer evolution, they will be exposed to more quantitative components. I would say they will learn how to perform analysis of genomic data, how to go for different statistical analysis for that, and etc. etc. For example, who are not part of that module, we will actually teach them how to analyze data using R, the statistical background software, that will be under two different workshops. So those are the things in general. But if you choose the multiomics and cancer evolution specialized module, that will be like a starting point for some students. And if you are already in the data science background, then you can build on top of that. That is the in a nutshell, but you will have more information if you make a specific inquiry either to me or the admission team. Yeah.
Apologies for that. My laptop crashed unexpectedly, so but I don't have access to the Q&A anymore, so I
Yeah,
don't know if you can see it. Okay.
So still we have got a few minutes left. So if you have any question in your mind, you can just throw it to me. So while we're waiting, Robbie, can you let us have a little bit idea like how the social life in terms of the students in this very city, London, that you enjoyed here?
Yeah, for sure. I joined actually the formative part of my experience was through Salsa Society. UCL has a lot of societies, and I joined Salsa Society and Running Athletics Society, and they're both really well run. I'd say just the quality of people you meet at UCL, of like-minded people and people who just enjoy to have a good time, is probably second to none. A lot better than my undergrad experience, at least. And so I had a great time. And London also offers so many events and stuff for you to do. Also cheap events as well. There's a lot to do if you know where to find it.
Yeah, that is actually very important for the students who are coming from outside UK, so they will find it very, very helpful. Okay, so we have got another question. So it says, for the dissertation project, do students usually do it using preclinical data, or can students use clinical data from early results from clinical trials? So it depends on which project you pick from the list. If it is something very related to any trial data, then obviously it depends on how the project is designed. So we actually asked the group leaders to propose some projects that can be attainable within the time frame of 3.5 months, so that the students have the clear idea what's is there, and what are the things they need to do. So if the uh, project is designed in a way that it uses a particular data of the particular stage of the trial, then obviously that is part of the study. So there actually it depends on how the project is designed, but I don't see any embargo on using some data or not. So it actually depends on how the project is designed, but the data is there. If the project is suitable, then obviously it can be a part of your project. The next question is there a choice between wet and dry lab, or do we do both during the taught component of the program? Okay, so the wet lab practicals is available to any student. So that is a part of the core module. So everyone will be able to do it. So that's one thing. And the project, it can be either wet lab or dry lab. So within the 3.5 months, I don't think it is a good enough time to apply both. But still, having said so, I have a student from the last cohort who participated in both aspects of the research. And for the touch component, for example, you will have a dedicated specialized project for dry lab experience, like understand how the data works in the realm of genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, even systems biology. So those are the things that you will find in that specialized project. But if a student doesn't take this specialized project and take the other alternative, the immunology and immunotherapy, then still that student will be able to learn under the other module how to analyze data using R, the statistical package. So you will have components of both sides of the dry or wet lab experience. And if you choose for a dry lab project in the later or the wet lab project, it depends on your interest, but you will be equipped for both sides. Okay. Okay, so we have a few more minutes left. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer. Okay, so out of interest, do you have PhD projects that specializes in cancer clinical research at the CI? Of course, we have. So at the end of your program, you can search for those. But having said that, it's not always like preformed. So there are projects, I'm not sure which will be like applicable for any PhD options, but there are projects that work with the clinical research, and that is the like our one of our specialities. So if there are options, there are fundings available, you can obviously tie that with this theme. So of course we have got projects running in the clinical research, cancer clinical research, of course, but whether you will tie it with your PhD funding, that will be seen in the future. Okay. Having said so, there are options you will find at the end of the master's program. There are advertisements for different projects, so you will be looking for those actually. Okay, and well, we are waiting for the next question. I can show some light on how we tie our research to the teaching. So our teaching is provided by well-known researchers, the experts of the field, and also we have different speakers or different lecturers who are actually practicing clinicians as well. So they know the very cutting edge research technologies or even treatments that are actually being applied to the patients. So you will be taught by the very experts of each of those fields. It's not like a single person is taking all the lectures, you will have so many lecturers for each of the topics so that you can learn from the very best. Okay, there are some core topics that will be covered by like a single lecturer, for example, the molecular biology of cancer, but the specialized lecturers that are coming from the very experts, and you will not find those facilities in, I would say, UK or anywhere in the world with this well organized, orchestrated experts. So that's a very good opportunity for you to come and learn something very useful. And this, most of the time, is very translatable. Like, this is transferable skills that you can obviously use in the cancer research, but you can also go to other aspects of research. Like, for example, I had a master's students who did the project under me, and after the project, she started a PhD project in cardiovascular disease. So she learned a lot with the data handling, and then she translated that into a different field. So you will be equipped with those skills in this course, and you can go either in cancer research and go to other part of the scientific research, clinical research. So that's up to you, but you will be well equipped for that.
Just give it another minute before any last burning questions, and then we'll wrap the session up.
Okay. Okay, what is the ratio of admitted students to the student that applied? So that, I think, the best people to answer that is the FMS admission team. If I'm not wrong, I think, okay, let's put it that way. So if you are eligible and if you fulfill the requirements and you're well fit in, then you will be offered a place. So that's from our side. And in terms of application, we offer a lot, but I think so. I think the FMS admission team is the best people to answer your question. That
It's also difficult to answer because the course has been growing in popularity a lot, and
yeah.
obviously there's a limited amount of places.
So, but to give you an idea, so we usually have around 40 students. So our uh, highest number was 48, I think, 3 years back. This year, the cohort is 39 students, and last year it was 38. Okay, are some research carried out in a hospital? So, like I said, we are very much attached to the UCLH and the Macmillan Cancer Center. So, those are the institutes we get our samples, everything from. So, obviously, there are other collaborators as well. So, here you can have those environment in a very close proximity. Researchers carried out in the CI, but the hospitals are a very close partner to us. So we have clinicians, technicians, they go to the hospitals, collect the samples, bring it to us, and we do the research in our Cancer Institute. Okay. So the next question is, what does the typical day look like in the first term? How many lectures, labs, and workshops would usually be in a week? Again, it depends on the week. So like Robbie said, sometimes around the submission of an assessment, that becomes a very busy for you, but we try to make less lectures and workshops placed around the assessment submission deadlines. In a typical day, for example, in a very busy time, someday you will be with us for from 9 to 5. In some days, especially in the first term, the busiest term actually, you will have to come at least 4 days in a week in the early weeks. The very late, maybe a little less. On Wednesdays, we actually put those online sessions that is in the middle of the week so that you have a little break during the week and you get yourself discharged for the rest of the week. So we try to make things very logically placed so that you don't burn out. Okay. So yeah. And how many lectures? It depends on the module, but there are quite there's like enough sufficient and numbers there, and labs are usually in the middle of the term, so you will have 4 days for the practical labs, and workshops depends on the module again. So your technical research skills module, you will have quite a few workshops for that, and my own module, which is the the multiomics and cancer evolution, that has a lot of hands-on practical sessions in there. So usually what it is designed, you have the relevant lectures first, and then you will practice those with the like hands-on sessions. So you will have support from the lecturer, and even I'll be there. Okay. And I think for the sake of the time, I would say I'll take the last question here. So do lessons continue during December holidays, or is it like the little December break? Okay, we try to finish everything in the first week of December. So lessons will be done. This year, the last lesson is on the 5th of December, and the rest is up to you how you process. But having said that, we have an assessment submission date the mid-December, but we don't have any lessons. Okay. The last question, the very last question, okay? This is the last minute. From the earlier PowerPoint presentation, the dissertation is seen as 3 months, only to be rushed. Okay, this is a taught module course, but we try to fit in that dissertation with a sufficient time, like 3.5 months for your like your work in the lab, and then you will have time to write your dissertation. So I think based on the whole uh, architecture, it is quite well placed, and it is not unfortunately an MRes. So with the MRes you can have like 6 months to 9 months in like range for your dissertation, but here this is a taught course. Still we are actually fitting this in very nicely in our whole program. Okay, so that was the answer.
Thanks all for the session. I hope you enjoyed it and it was very informative. Thank you to Dr. Mahedi for this. This will be recorded and up on the website if you need to refer back to it. And the resources, please see in the chat. Otherwise, thank you and have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Robbie.
Cheers.
All right.